Cosplayers. What's the creepiest thing that happened at a convention? I went as Star-Lord to a beer release party right before Halloween, just for shits and giggles. Had the mask, orb, gun and all. This party had a heavy metal concert going at it, so it was packed with metalheads. It was awesome because these drunk metalheads just fucking treated me like I was Star-Lord. But it was also terrifying because these metalheads treated me like I was Star-Lord, haha. I had pictures taken with a lot of people, and about every other photo someone would do something fucked up like grab my junk, ask to lick my gun, or tell me to look like I was choking them. It was weird. Totally worth it though. Someone gave me free beer tickets. Many years ago, I went to a con dressed as Kai from Chobits, and my boyfriend at the time was Hideki. They're the main characters / love interest. The first day of the con, this strange teenage girl just glommed onto me and started following me everywhere. She wasn't even in costume. She kept going up to random other cosplayers and asking them to take pictures of just me and them together. Not her, just the cosplayers. This went on for well over an hour, and she just would not take a hint. If I recall, we finally got rid of her after making some excuse that we had some friends to meet. To this day, I'm pretty sure there is some creepy shrine of me in costume somewhere. Dressed as Temari from Naruto, not particularly revealing or anything. Some dude comes up to me, tells me my costume is wrong, and that Temari shirt is cut lower, and before I can even react, sticks his finger in the neckline of my shirt and drags it down almost to the bottom of my cleavage. Kid nearly lost his finger that day. Edit. Spellings. This is way less creepy than the other stories, but it was still uncomfortable. My boyfriend and our female friend dressed as Timo back in November. Note, this was not a slutty Timo costume. She had on a nude tube top and fuzzy scarf. And BF did not wear a shirt but also had a scarf on. One of the security guys came and angrily told them to put on shirts or leave. Both of them, because this is a convention for children. Never mind the 50 slutty Pikachu costumes we saw. Later, after going to Target and getting my boyfriend a nude-colored shirt, the guy followed us around while he was off duty. He stopped BF once and yelled at him about putting shirt on, and when he showed him the guy just kept staring at him. I guess he thought he was going to randomly take the shirt back off? I don't know. It was so awkward. At an anime con that I help run, and I'm sitting at a table in the food court with a fellow convention runner and a female friend. Female friend is cosplaying as Sailor Mars. We were discussing creepy people at cons. Then 2 minutes later, a guy comes up to the table and says, "I love your costume. I've been fantasizing about you since I was 13. At the time, I was so shocked that all I could do was facepalm. She took it in stride, but I still can't believe that someone would say that. First con the GF talked me into cosplay with her, I decided to go simple and went as Mario, while she went as Link. Most of it went really smooth and fun with all the pictures and booth visits. Had more than one creeper mention they were picturing Mario and Link having sex after realizing we were a couple. Some people just don't have filters. Great, now I'm picturing Mario and Link having sex. It gets worse. Mario is from the Mario Brothers Super Show, and so is Link. I was wearing a Master Chief cosplay. Since it had no pockets and it was really hot, I kept a bottle of water within the codpiece. Suddenly, a girl runs up to me, reaches inside my codpiece, and takes my bottle of water. It happened so fast and suddenly that I was stunned for like 20 seconds. I guess she really wanted my crotch water. So a couple years ago, my friend was at our local Comic-Con cosplaying as someone from Madoka Magica. She was walking around when suddenly she felt someone grab her, but she turned around to see a large hairy man behind her, and she said, "I'm 14." And he replied, "Yeah, I'm 40," and walked away. It was very odd. Folks, if you're at a convention and notice someone being creeped upon, female or male, help. Approach and ask if everything is okay. If they need any help, give them an excuse to get out of there. Anything. And especially if someone you've never met before comes up and treats you like a significant other or old friend, they're looking for help. They feel the need to be out of that situation immediately. Play along and get them out of range of the creeper. Find security or staff for them. Whatever you can do. Nobody should have their good time ruined by someone with no social skills who can't take a hint. It can be a frightening situation, and it's not always possible to extricate yourself without outside help. I was dressed up as Finn from Adventure Time with my friend, who was dressed up as a Dalek, both of us 13-year-old girls. While we were standing together so my dad could take a picture of us, some random guy walks up behind my dad, takes a picture, then runs before he can turn around. I later saw him and his friends when exiting the con. They basically all did the same thing to various different girls around the con, which is creepy as hell in its own right, but creepier when the subject also happens to be underage. I feel like this is one of those situations where it's only creepy because the dude made it creepy. At PX last year, I saw people taking sneaky photos of people in costumes. It was weird because at the time the people were posing for a photo that I had asked them for. They could have just taken a normal photo. I was cosplaying the 11th Doctor, and I jokingly pointed my sonic screwdriver at an older man who was working a booth also dressed as the 11th Doctor, and he looked right at me and said, "Oh no, she's unzipping my pants." I laughed awkwardly at my friend, and I scurried away pretty quickly and didn't return to that area. I should also mention I was 12 or 13 at the time. This isn't strange, but more endearing. I went as linked to a Comic-Con maybe 2 years back, and let me tell you, I went all out. Everything about the outfit matched the Twilight Princess tunic / perfectly / Honestly, it's probably one of the only great things I'll ever do in my life. Anyways, I was walking around the con when a little Link, with his parents as Zelda and Ganon, walked up to me, and this kid looked like he just met Santa Claus. He was so excited to see me. That is probably the happiest Eve ever seen a human being. So he comes up to me and he says, "Are you the real Link?" And I just nod and smile. He asks for a picture with me, and then this kid just hugs me and wishes me luck defeating Zant and goes on his merry way. That kid is my hero. Those parents are my hero. That family is my hero. Of time, of course. My girlfriend and I were dressed as Booker and Elizabeth from BioShock, and we kept getting high fives, compliments, stuff like that, but then this group of teenagers in anime schoolgirl costumes and wigs start freaking out over us like they'd met actual Booker and Elizabeth and asked for a hug, and I uncomfortably go, which they take as a yes, and just group hug us for like 15 to 20 seconds. We then noticed that not all of the schoolgirls were girls, and we're just like, okay, that's enough now, and got out of there. TLDR got group hugged by Japanese schoolgirls that were 13 to 14 years old boys. I was at a con, and there was a weird guy who was taking pictures with all the girls. He could have just had Asperger's or something, but all his shots ended up with a real creepy, "Okay, now me behind you" shot that made the girls uncomfortable. They laughed about it later when they realized every girl in my group of 10 had met with him at some point or another. I'm not sure if anyone has posted this, but to me it is the single creepiest thing that happens when my friends and I cosplay. Mainly because it happens every time without fail. Neckbeard's taking the sneaky pic. As in, you're in costume, walking around looking to buy stuff or whatever, and you hear a little click every now and then. You turn around, and there's dude with his camera with the lens pointed at you. I think it's creepy because it is literally every single outfit, whether you're dressed as a cute Sailor Scout, to a boy, to a monster, it happens. If you try and confront the guy, he just blanks you and walks off into the crowd. The worst part is if you ask for a picture, then the cosplayer is 95% of the time going to say yes. I mean, she's worked hard on her outfit, and probably has practiced the best poses and angles in the mirror, so you come away with a much more quality shot. Just ask for her consent, embarrassed face. I was cosplaying as a hobbit, just a random, this is what a female hobbit would look like type of outfit. And I was walking bare feet around the convention, because hobbits don't wear shoes, and the floor was nice and warm anyways. A few hours and a guy asked for my pictures, and as I usually do, I agree that he can take some pictures if he wants to, as long as he tells me if he posts it anywhere. He said he would post them on his DeviantArt, and that's all. So it was fine by me. So he starts to take pictures of me and asked me to do some poses. Nothing weird TBH, but I felt like he kept emphasizing on my feet. Fast forward to a few days later when I find him on DeviantArt. Turns out he's got a fetish for feet. Quite the surprise. At first I thought it was kind of creepy, but eventually I didn't really care about it as much cause it's just feet. Just the thought of him sneakily taking pictures like that because he wanted to see my feet, LOL. We were waiting in line for a yaoi fanfiction panel because we had a free gap between panels and thought it would be funny. The girl in front of us turned around and whispered yaoi. We nodded. She then yelled, "Why?" way too loud with this massive grin on her face. The worst part was that one of our friends was in the same room and we were waiting for her. So even though we wanted to nope out, we had to wait and then run while the line was filing in. I had no idea these people existed. I was working the Maid Cafe at a convention years ago, and George Takei shows up, the first celebrity we ever had in the cafe. So I go up to him to take his order, and he looks me over and gives me the OMYYYY. That's not the creepy part, that's the awesome part. The creepy part was some Klingon hussy comes along and slaps a leather collar on me when I'm just done taking the order and hauls me away. Then she starts giving me the "you're a naughty little boy" routine, and I got work to do. I don't have time for this RP. So I tell her the truth and said, "Actually, I'm 40 years old. I'm really short, by the way." And she goes, "You," and pops the collar off and walks away looking disgusted. Been to a certain one for 5 years now. Absolutely nothing creepy. There's always the people who turn up and smoke or blare music in the hotel. It's in 24/7, and every couple years there's graffiti or a fight. There's always a handful of people who faint though. Creepy stuff though? Absolutely nothing. I went to an evening meetup with my friend and a few cool people I had met that day. Hung out in the bar and chatted for a few hours. There was a guy there, a generic neckbeard, overweight with a fedora, who had told other people at the meetup that he had no idea what the meetup was for. He just saw the hot girls and joined in. When the meet died down, myself along with 2 other girls, one of their boyfriends, and a male friend decided to head back to one of our rooms and get pizza. The neckbeard followed a few feet behind us, laughing when we laughed, but made no other attempt to communicate. Then he started asking where we were ordering pizza from and said he wanted a large pepperoni or whatever, didn't take our various hints, and my friend's boyfriend had to take the guy aside and politely tell him to fuck off. He just stood there watching us walk away. We could still see him stood there as we reached the hotel. That's almost kind of sad. Sounds like he was trying to make friends, but had absolutely no social skills whatsoever. I've been going to local MN cons for a few years now. Needless to say, the crowd is repetitive and everyone pretty much knows each other. I was at the rave in a Fiona, the human cosplay, with a pretty good con friend of mine, Jessica, who was wearing a skirt and tank top. We were standing in the front, and this 15-year-old looking kid starts dancing with us, and so we welcomed him. The dancing involved no touching whatsoever. Keep in mind Jessica and I are in our 20s. The kid whips out his phone and starts filming the rave, and I'm like, okay, cool, he's really excited to be here, that's awesome. But then he just drops to his knees and slides the phone between Jessica's legs to try and get an upskirt video. I punched the phone out of his hands and then watched him delete the video. Mathematical. I was cosplaying Renoa, FFEI, at one of my first conventions ever, at Anime Next 2003. I'm very into Soul Calibur, and I decided to enter the tournament and play against some people in a more casual context too. One of the security guards kept coming up to me when I'd sit down to play and start massaging my shoulders every time it was my turn. Big, creepy dude who was a great deal older than me considering I was still a teenager at the time. I was just trying to play and enjoy my game, and it escalated to a point where my then boyfriend actually had to stand behind me and say something to him. Apparently, I was not the only person to have issues with that security guard that weekend. My friend and I were being followed by this guy in a Scream outfit, mask and all. He was just casually walking behind us when I noticed him, and it startled me. He noticed, of course, and made it his mission to scare the crap out of us every time he spotted us. At one point, I got nervous and just ran, and of course he runs after me and pokes me with his knife. It was pretty funny, actually, but still kind of creepy when I think about it. Out of curiosity, why were you dressed as a maid at a con? Was it a specific character, or just a maid? I thought cons were supposed to have people as recognizable characters. Serious question, I've never even been to a con. Also, don't ask me why, that's the question I have about this story. Edit. Thanks for the responses, all. That was good clarification. Depends on the con, though there are a lot of characters who also happen to be maids or dress as such. And some people use conventions as an opportunity to indulge in alternative fashion, Lolita and such, since people are more likely to be cool with it there than in a lot of other public places. Is it me, or is the cosplay community very touchy? I always end up with someone I do not know coming up and glomping me or touching me in some way. If I'm in cosplay, the instances greatly increase. Now, if I know you, I'm all for physical affection, but I have never seen your face in my life. Back off. I spent a ton of time making a sculptural tail for a Naga Siren costume. I chose a set that was pretty conservative in terms of armor. Nobody at the con was creepy about it. But when I posted to the sub devoted to Dota 2, where people often post cosplay photos, I got about 50 "why isn't top missing?" and tits or GTFO comments. People were mad I didn't make the default build where she is topless. My wife had the same issue. Her and her friend did their first cosplay event at Gen Con. Steampunk one day and Daenerys the next. One was Season 3, one was Season 1. Everybody was super nice at the con, if maybe a little awkward and demanding at times. She posted the pictures to Reddit, and the very first comment was that one of them was too fat to be Daenerys and the other is too skinny. That douche must have had a very specific weight in mind, because they aren't that far off from each other. Please consider subscribing if you enjoyed. Love.